Hello, everybody. I am yet again Price McKinney. Simply put, and as always, I want to thank you for tuning in to listen to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Simply put, by your boy Price McKinney. YouTube on Tuesdays. Simply put, podcast with me, yours truly, Price McKinney. So we'll dive right into this head first. You got to communicate, folks. It just any relationship you're in, you've got to talk. Now, with your partner, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to term it as, the choice is yours. Um, Whether you're, especially if you're just meeting the person and you're in the dating process, you have got, and I remember somebody told me this years ago, and I didn't understand it at the time, but I do now, and I wish I'd have understood it back then. It would have saved me a lot. Build your relationship off of the friendship first, not your feelings. Because your feelings are going to change. And here's what happens to most of us when adversity hits, when a challenge presents itself, feelings go out the window. And then early on, you you start questioning, do you have the tolerance, patience, wherewithal to deal with this? Right? You just you're a couple of months in. And because you're in the beginning of it, you're more prone to back out of it versus stay in and then do it a process because it's easier. And for most of and I deal with this. I've just been transparent and honest. My patience right in through here is I'm not gonna say I don't have any, but it's not a whole lot. So what I what I have to do is I have to adjust and understand that it's not somebody else's fault that my patience is the way that it is. And you can't project all of your innards and all of your shenanigans onto that person because of where you are based on the stuff you've been through, right? Now, granted, let me say this for those of you who have a problem with what I just said. I'm not saying put up and tolerate anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying just because the person likes you and because they're interested, and you all want to, you both mutually want to build a relationship that you got to deal with. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, don't project your own internal shenanigans, perhaps that you have yet to deal with. That's the key. Have you dealt with this stuff yet, or is it just because of what you dealt with? Like me, you've reset your boundaries, and because your boundaries are freshly reset, you're still adjusting to what you will deal with and what you want. However, even if that's the case, you have to open your mouth and talk. Here's what happens to a lot of us, and I don't know why this is, but I've seen it more often than not. You wait until you get, just bear with me, folks. You wait until you get pissed off to the highest levels of festivity. And then you just start firing off shots. Just foul, 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 foul. Like you Yosemite Sam. Oh, and you you just blasted the person out. When you go into that mode, you just start saying stuff that you've let go all of this time. It's never been an issue until you get pissed off. And then you start firing your shots off, and then the shots turn over into now you just burning on them, and you firing off jokes. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. Manage your emotions to where you don't have to get to that point, because at that point it's not helpful to anybody. You just venting is all you're doing, and instead of sitting down, this is what I've said, communicate. Instead of sitting down talking to the person when you first see this stuff, right? Because None of it just all of a sudden mysteriously, magically appears. That's not how this works. It's been there. You just tolerated it up to the point now you done got pissed off about it. Now you sick of dealing with it. And now you want to just flat air the person out and go off on them and give them a piece of your mind. And that's fine. Perfectly fine. However, in that approach, you're going to have some consequences. Because two things are going to happen. Yeah, I got four fingers up, but two things are going to happen. They're not going to hear anything you're saying. You're not going to hear anything you're saying. And in that combat, in that war zone, you're at a stalemate. And what happens when you start talking at the person, and I've said this 108 times, when you start talking at the person and not to them, then they go into defensive mode. You on the offense, they're on the defense, and both of y'all are just you become combative, and nobody's getting anywhere because now they're saying stuff to you that they've been holding on to. You're saying stuff to them that you've been holding on to, and now you got a freaking war, and you're saying stuff out of hurt and anger instead of sitting down and talking to the person as your friend. This is why this is important. Establish a foundation of friendship first. Build on top of that. Why? Because your trust is there, the honesty, the respect, the admiration, all of that stuff is, all of those components are there. So when you talk to the person, you're talking to your friend, not just your companion. So even if you feel what you feel for them, even if they feel what they feel towards you, because both of y'all have become the best of friends, regardless to what you say, even if it hurts them and or you, they can hear what you're saying, you can work on it, and you can fix it. People, listen, folks, it's not rocket science. They can't fix what they don't know. If you've not told them, you can't leave that up for them to guess. Well, I thought they should know. Well, I said this and I did that. But did you tell them directly? I don't like this. I know you mean no harm. I don't want you saying that to me. I don't want you doing this. Just say it. You don't have to be rude and disrespectful. Just, hey, babe, listen, I don't mean any harm, but I need to share this with you. Presentation is everything. And you don't have to go through no whole bunch of shenanigans and give a whole freaking soliloquy to get your point across. No, you don't even got to go through that. But just make sure your presentation is appropriate so that you can get your point across. It's not being selfish. It's not being mean. It's hey, I don't like it when you do this. I'm a jokester. So if I'm playing too much and I'm doing too hey Price, I know that's your personality, but if you would just take that off the table. I don't want you. Can you not say that? Can you not? Yes, cool. I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not offended by that. That's what you like. That's what you dislike. So why would I, if I'm trying to make you my person, why would I continue doing this? And this applies even if you're already in a relationship, because a lot of us do not know how to communicate. We talk at the person and not to them. They're not an object. They're a person. They're an individual. They're a human being. So it's important to share whatever it is that you explain to the person what your expectations are, or if you don't even have any. This is how I view the relationship. These are the things I want to see happen. These are the goals I have. These are the things I want us to see accomplished. Sit down and have those conversations so that you don't, because it becomes dangerous and you run the risk of losing the person that you love and or like, all because you don't want to open your mouth and say what you need to say because you're afraid that you might hurt them, or you're afraid you might upset them, or you're afraid you might hurt their feelings. Hurt their feelings, but just do it politely. Because if, and I said this before, holding your peace does not give you peace. It does not. So if something is going on and all of a sudden you just finally decide, "Wow, I'm gonna fire this shot out, let them know how I feel." You just hit them with a bullet, folks. That's gonna hurt. The first thing they're gonna do is feel it. It's gonna hurt first, and then now I gotta patch this, but you did it. But they gotta patch what you did to them because you sat on it for as long as you did. Don't do that. Respect yourself enough to share whatever it is you need to share. Say whatever it is you need to say. There's nothing wrong with that. We've got to get, and I understand. She might be fine as wine, and he might be. You this muscle won't even fit in the screen. It's swole up, muscular like I am. I get all of that, but outside, you have to build a relationship. And the best way to do that is build a relationship, a friendship first, and then stack everything else on top of that. Because if you can't have this, and I'm done, and I just had this happen. If you can't have hard, open faced conversations with that person non emotionally, and they can't listen to you because they know you're going to automatically tune them out, or all you trying to do is get your point across. And then once you get your point across, you don't want to hear nothing the other person got to say. I got a buddy of mine. He's coined this statement. I said what I said. So after he says what he said, he's done. You can't build a relationship like that, folks. I said what I said. And that's fine that you said what you said. Now it's the other person's turn. But you close yourself off because all you wanted to do is get your point across. That's not fair. It's not fair to the other person, but guess what? More importantly, it's not fair to you because now you got to play damage control because you just left the person over here wounded and weeping, and now you got to play damage control because you didn't even give them an opportunity to say whatever it is they need to say based on what you just said to them about them, right? That's not fair. So now you put them in defense mode, and now they've shut down. So now you finna get all of this back. So either they've withdrawn or pulled back or backed away, or now they loading up and finna empty the clip on you and now you finna get all of this all over again, and you just keep repeating the same cycle, all because you're not talking. Just have a conversation. Sit down. It doesn't have to be long, extended. You figure out what works for you. Figure out what works for the two of you. Make sure you carve out a piece of time, even if it's not 10, 5, 10, 20, whatever works for you. Everybody works. Everybody's got schedules. Everybody's busy. Carve out some time for it. If that's your person, that's your wife, your husband, carve out some time for that. Make sure they understand, okay, you know what, dear? You are important to me. How you think and how you feel is important to me. I want to hear from you based on what I just said. Give them the opportunity to talk and share as well. So again, you've got to communicate, folks. It doesn't matter if you're 1 week in or if you're 100 years in. You've got to communicate because as you grow and evolve, your needs change, your desires change, the things you want to do change. Stuff that you used to love doing and enjoy, you might not like it anymore. So you got to share that stuff. So again, you've got to communicate. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, simply put by Price McKinney. YouTube on Tuesdays, simply put by your boy, with your boy Price McKinney. I'm not an expert. I just know what I know. And I promise you, you're going to see me soon.